Let me guess, you've poured hours into tuning, miking, and recording your drums. But when you hit playback, they just sound weak, right? They're thin, they're flat, and they have none of the punch and raw power that you hear on your favorite metal albums. The good news? It's totally fixable. In this video, I'm breaking down the 5 reasons your recordings sound amateur and giving you a step-by-step guide to fix it for good. We're going to transform that disappointing drum sound into something absolutely massive and professional. And make sure you stick around to the end, because I put together a free, detailed guide to help you with mic placement and checklists that you won't want to miss. If you're new to the channel, I'm Dan, and I've helped tons of metal bands get pro-level mixes from their home studios. Today, you're next. First up, and honestly the most important reason your drums sound amateur, is your recording space. Think of your room as the biggest, most expensive instrument you own. If it sounds bad, everything you record in it will sound bad as well. A small square room with hard floors, low ceilings, and parallel walls is a total nightmare for recording drums. It cooks up a nasty storm of flutter echoes and bass buildup that turns your powerful hits into a muddy, undefined mess. You'll hear it as a harsh, cringy cymbal wash that buries everything else, a kick drum with zero punch, and toms that ring out with bizarre, ugly frequencies. So what's the fix? The pro solution is acoustic treatment. And no, that doesn't mean stapling egg cartons to your walls. We're talking about thick, broadband absorption panels, and most critically, bass traps. Putting bass traps in the corners of your room is the single best thing you could do to clean up the low-end mud that's killing your drum clarity. Placing absorption panels at the first reflection points, the walls to your left and right and the ceiling above you, will tame those nasty reflections and stop your cymbals from sounding like shattering glass. But what if you can't afford treatment or you're renting? You can still make a huge difference. If you're stuck in a horrible room, try recording somewhere else, like a big furnished living room. You can even use what you have around you. Heavy blankets, mattresses, or even your couch cushions can be set up to absorb reflections. The goal is to create a controlled, less chaotic space. Just remember, a great drum sound starts with a great room. No plugin or fancy mic can ever fix a fundamentally bad sounding space. Getting this right is the foundation for everything. Next on the list, the drums themselves. You could be in the best sounding room in the world, but if your kit is poorly tuned with ancient heads, your recordings will always lack punch and tone. An out-of-tune drum doesn't sing. It just gives you a dull thud with weird, dissonant overtones. This is where that classic cardboard box snare sound comes from, or toms that just go bonk instead of booming. The fix starts with some basic TLC. First, get new drum heads. Old, cratered heads are impossible to tune and sound completely dead. For rock and metal, you need the brightness and attack that only fresh heads can provide. Once they're on, it's time to tune. The goal is to get even tension at every lug. You can learn to do this by ear, or you can grab a tool like a drum dial to be more precise. For a snare, a killer starting point is to tune the top head to a specific note, then bring the bottom head a third or a fifth higher to get that satisfying, crisp crack. And please, go easy on the muffling. A little bit of dampening to control a wild overtone is fine, but don't just slap a wallet or a giant piece of duct tape on there. You'll kill all those beautiful tones you just worked so hard to create. Use something like a small silicone gel sparingly, just to tame the crazy stuff without choking the drum's natural voice. Trust me, spending 30 minutes to properly tune your kit is the best investment you can make for your sound. Okay, your room is treated and your kit sounds amazing. The next amateur trap is bad mic placement. Getting this wrong introduces 2 of the biggest enemies of a powerful drum sound: excessive bleed and phase cancellation. Bleed is just one mic picking up too much of something else, like your hi-hat screaming into your snare mic. Phase cancellation is way sneakier. It's when 2 mics capture the same sound at slightly different times, which makes certain frequencies literally disappear. It's the reason your fat-sounding snare suddenly becomes thin and wimpy the moment you bring up the overhead mics. Here's how we fix this like a pro. For your close mics on the kick, snare, and toms, the name of the game is isolation. Get them right up on the drum. For the kick, placing a mic just inside the porthole will give you all the attack you need. For the snare, an SM57 on top is classic for a reason. And if you add a bottom mic, you have to check the phase. Now for overheads, stop thinking of them as mics for the whole kit. In modern metal, their main job is to capture the cymbals. A spaced pair of condenser mics is a great start. To avoid phase issues, a good rule of thumb is to keep them at least 4 feet away from the snare and 4 feet from each other. This gives you a wide, clear stereo image. But the most important trick is this: always use the phase invert switch on your preamp or in your software. As you bring up a new mic, flip that switch back and forth while listening to the snare. One way will sound full and punchy, the other will sound hollow and weak. Choose the full one. This simple check is one of the biggest things that separates a pro from an amateur. This brings us to the mistake that keeps so many home recordings sounding small: not using room mics. When you only use close mics and overheads, You're just capturing a collection of individual drums. You're missing the glue, the thing that makes it sound like one cohesive instrument playing in a real space. Your drums will sound dry, two-dimensional, and disconnected, completely lacking the depth and vibe of a pro metal mix. The solution is your new secret weapon, room mics. These are what give you that natural size and power. But the key is placement. You want them far enough from the kit to get a balanced picture of everything, but not so far it turns into a distant, washy mess. A great place to start is with a stereo pair about 7 to 10 feet in front of the kit. While the drummer plays, literally walk around the room and listen. Find that sweet spot where the kick and snare sound powerful and balanced without the cymbals taking your head off. Then the real magic happens in the mix. For that aggressive, modern metal sound, you can absolutely crush these mics with a compressor. This brings all the energy and sustain, creating that explosive, larger-than-life drum sound. And this ties directly back into our first point. Your room mics will only ever sound as good as the room does. In a great room, these mics are the key to unlocking professional depth. We've made it to the final point, and it's one nobody wants to talk about, the performance itself. You can have all the best gear in the world, but nothing can fix a drum performance that's sloppy and weak. This is the ultimate garbage in, garbage out principle. A professional metal sound demands tight, powerful, and incredibly consistent playing. Amateur performances are often full of timing drifts, but the real killer is inconsistent velocity. When one snare hit is a massive rim shot and the next is a weak little tap, you'll never get a solid, punchy backbeat to drive the song. When some kick drum hits are weaker than others, the low-end foundation of your track will feel shaky and unstable. The fix isn't a plug-in, it's practice. First, the drummer has to play to a click track. For modern metal, this is completely non-negotiable. Make sure they have a great headphone mix so they can hear themselves and the click perfectly. Second, they need to focus on dynamic control. The goal is consistency. Every snare backbeat should sound almost identical in power and tone. Every kick and a fast double bass run should have the same attack. This is what separates a good drummer from a great recording drummer. As the engineer, be a coach. Don't be afraid to say, let's get one more. It's so much better to capture a killer performance from the start than to spend days trying to edit a weak one into shape. So let's bring it all home. We've hit the 5 things that kill drum recordings: a bad sounding room, bad sounding kit, messy mic placement, no room mics, and a weak performance. By tackling each of these, you stop fighting your recordings and start crafting them, working with a source tone that's already 90% of the way to a finished mix. Think about how weak and flat the drum sounded before. By fixing the source, you can finally get the powerful, polished, and professional drum sound that your songs deserve. And you can absolutely do it in your own studio. Now, to make sure you get this right from the start, I put together a complete, free guide on how to record massive sounding drums at home. It goes even deeper into mic selection, mic placement, and gives you a step-by-step checklist to follow for every session. Just click the link in the description to grab it for free. And of course, if this video helped you out, do me a huge favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss out on more tips to get your mixes to the next level. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.